Hello guys, and welcome to a video I never thought I would make. This is going to be the assumptions about me tag/video. I feel like tag is such an old school YouTube thing. I thought these videos were so lame. When they started popping up, I didn't watch them. I was like, that is such a attention grabbing, clickbait thing to do. And also just asking for offensive things to be said to you. I feel like when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, that's just asking for people to say nasty things. And then actually I watched a few on IGTV. Actually, more specifically, I watched Dina Tokyo's one, and I really liked it. And a lot of people said really nice things about her. And then I feel like it was a nice way to learn more about somebody that I follow, and I enjoyed it. Anyway, so I decided to make my own, and I asked you on Instagram stories to make some assumptions, and you guys did make a lot of assumptions, which I am going to respond to now. So the first one that came up, because people you follow or your friends show up at the top, and the first one I'm going to respond to is my friend Rima, who said she assumed before she met me that I didn't swear. And I feel like that's probably an assumption a lot of you guys who follow me on YouTube assume, because I don't swear on YouTube. In real life, I kind of swear a lot. I have a bit of a potty mouth. I do swear a lot. I don't swear on YouTube as an actual conscious decision for my content, partly because when I first started I had a much younger audience. Obviously 10 years ago I was much younger myself, and I just didn't really want that to be a thing, but also I feel like it's not something I really would like to put out into the universe of myself. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, I just feel more comfortable not swearing online and swearing more in my private life, and it's probably one of the only things that I really chose to alter in my kind of online content from my real self. I'm terrible at acting or anything, so what you see in my videos is me, but it's definitely censored on the language front because I swear a lot in real life. And it's so funny that she wrote that. I was like, yeah, okay. So Sarah, I think it's Sarah because I've kind of written over her name, says, you never wanted to live far away from your family. That's actually not necessarily true. I didn't actively ever want to live far away from my family, but I definitely thought I would live further away than I do now. And I also thought I would probably end up living abroad at some point, not permanently, but I thought I would live further away when I was younger. I never thought I would end up living as close to my parents throughout my 20s as I did, which has been nice. I always saw myself eventually living close to my family, but I didn't think I would live close for most of my life, if that makes sense. Hannah assumes you are academically minded. I don't really know to that one, because I actually, I was quite academic at school and I got quite good grades, but I definitely wasn't I'm not an academic person in terms of being hugely well read or anything like that. I knew how to study really hard for my exams, but throughout the year I didn't actually work very hard. So I'd say 50-50. Anina? I don't know. Anina, I think, assumes you like rock music. Yes, I do. I kind of grew up surrounded by rock music. My brother was in a rock band when I was in my late teens. So my kind of later teens, early 20s were very much spent kind of getting free tickets from my brother to go and watch him at festivals and going to watch all the other bands as well. At Reading and Leeds and stuff like that. I absolutely loved rock music when I was growing up, and I kind of still do it. For me it's definitely a throwback thing as well, more than actively seeking out new released rock music. But I was a total emo kid when I was a teenager, and super into all of those bands, Taking Back Sunday, and I would say I crossed more into the rock pop kind of vibe. Panic at the Disco was my thing, and when Taylor Swift collaborated with Panic at the Disco for her latest song, I'm not gonna lie, my teenage self was crying a little bit inside, because I love Taylor as well. Esther assumes you are extremely organised. Okay, so this is a 50-50 situation with River and everything to do with River. I'm extremely organised. With packing and things like that, I'm also extremely organised. But in terms of like my day-to-day, like the house is always a bit of a mess, but I know in my brain where everything is. So like here, I'm really organised, but I'm not necessarily the tidiest person, and I feel like they are kind of related. EJ Gold and Silver assumes you're a take, well, I guess you are a take charge person, but likes to be looked after at the same time. That is 100% true. I love being in charge of a situation. I love organising things. Like I love hosting. If we're going on a trip somewhere, I love like being the one that's kind of organising. But I still really like to be looked after, 100%. New Man says, I assume you don't really enjoy the fashion of Duchess Kate. This is such a wrong assumption. I love her. I really like Kate Middleton. I always have done. And in terms of her fashion, it's not stuff I would wear, but I think she dresses so well for the environment that she's in, and she always looks beautiful. She always looks incredibly well put together. And I am a big fan of hers. I really like her a lot. Farella assumes that I love seafood. You knew that already. I love seafood so much. Susie assumes that my house is actually quite calm. Okay, 50-50, because today the house is super calm. River is at nursery, the house is calm, the house is quiet, but actually on a day-to-day basis the house is usually pretty busy. Like, I feel like with 3 dogs, 2 cats, a baby, I work from home a lot. There's always something kind of coming, going here, there, or everywhere. Like, I would say it's sometimes really hectic, sometimes fairly calm, but in general, I'd say it's more like busy than calm, if that makes sense. Sonia assumes I speak multiple languages, and I definitely don't. I wish I did. I can speak a little bit of German and a little bit of French, and that's about it. Which is shocking considering I did 10 years of French in school. I did from 5 to 15 like French lessons, and I barely speak French. Av- assumes you will give up YouTube soon, especially if you have another baby. No hate, I'm just assuming. No way! Like, it's funny, I feel like this year I've been a little bit, like my content's changed on YouTube a little bit, or I've been a little bit more absent because things have been so busy, but I never want to quit. Like, I think my goal in terms of long-term, like, my long-term kind of vision for my YouTube is to keep doing it and just to adapt to having multiple kids or having kind of different lifestyle as I grow up. I really hope that I don't end up stopping doing YouTube, but you know, things are busier now, so like it's not such a massive kind of like part of my life as it used to be. I feel like I spend more time on Instagram, but yeah, I don't ever want to stop. So Jess assumes that I look like a super posh, well-dressed mum, but when River is playing in the dirt, I'm like, meh. And that is 100% true. Like, well, I'm not saying like, oh, I look super well-dressed all the time, but I dress River like really smartly, and then I don't mind if she like messes herself up. And equally, like, I'll be chasing her around the park in like my nice clothes. Like, I really don't mind. Yeah. I think that's what she meant anyway, but yeah. And also, River constantly, like, I'll be dressed for like filming or something, and then once I finish filming I'll go and give her tea, and or her dinner, and she'll like grab hold of my hair or like my clothes with dirty like hands covered in food, and I'm just like, meh. She does it all the time. Amy assumes you're a lot more edgy in person than you show on YouTube and Instagram. I would say that's probably true. I feel like a lot of the time on Instagram as well, you see me more, or Instagram and YouTube, you see me more like dressed up. Although in my vlogs you don't. But yeah, it's like the swearing thing. I swear in real life and I don't swear on my YouTube and things like that. So I feel like yes, probably a little bit. but I do also feel like you guys know me pretty well after this many years. Gina assumes you are one of those people that has 50 best friends. Any tips for friendship? That's actually probably not true. Like, I feel like I have quite a close-knit group of best friends, but it's actually not that big. I would say I probably have like 10 best friends and then maybe like 30-ish kind of extended really good friends. I'm not one of those people that has like a massive group of friends. I like to keep like those close to me, like super close. So and in terms of tips for friendship, I would say always try and make time for the most important people in your life. Like, I've been through phases over the years where I haven't done that, and I've prioritized kind of newer friends or friends that I've met through YouTube that I'm kind of like, when you're like making new friends and you put all your time and effort into that, and I've kind of neglected older friends a little bit, and I definitely learned from that, and I don't do that anymore. It's actually not someone's name, it's just a username, but somebody says, you're very, very particular about money and investments. That's actually an interesting assumption because I'm very organised when it comes to like money, and I'm good at saving. I'm really good at saving and keeping organised on that front. But in terms of investments, I'm terrible. I like squirrel everything away and save instead of invest it. I'm very nervous about investing. I'm much better at saving. So 50-50 on that one. Michael or Michaela assumes your entire family is so cool and creative. Firstly, thank you. I would agree because I love my family and I think they're cool. My family are like all very, very different. So in terms of being cool and creative, like, I think that side of things very much comes from my mum, who has always been a bit wacky, and she definitely like is the most kind of creative one between my mum and dad. My dad's much more kind of business minded and more sensible. My mum's kind of a little crazy, and she loves painting, and she loves kind of like lots of different creative things. She's always got a project on the go. My dad, on the other hand, is actually quite musical. Like, he's always been able to play the guitar, and he always sung like growing up. But I would then say, like, between me and my two siblings, we're also creative in different ways. So my brother's a musician, he's also an incredible artist. My sister is creative more in a business sense, like my dad, so she'll always be coming up with new ideas and stuff. And then obviously I feel like my creative outlet is YouTube and this. So yeah, I like to think we're cool and creative, but I guess it's just relative really, isn't it? Nolwenn says, I assume you're really honest and straightforward with the people you love. That is 100% true. I am probably one of the most direct people I know. And it gets me in trouble sometimes with people who don't kind of understand my personality and understand me, but it definitely always comes from a good place. Like, I am super, super loyal as a character and very kind of loving, but I'm also quite like sharp sometimes, and that's definitely one of my like downfalls, I think, of my character, is that I sometimes can be a little bit too direct, but it's always meant from a good place, but doesn't necessarily always come out the best way, if that makes sense. And it's always the people that are closest to me that get the brunt of that. H. Titterington assumes you are good in a crisis or a stressful situation. I like to think so. I don't know necessarily, like, I feel like it would change depending on the type of stressful situation, but in terms of like, if you need someone to take charge and be organised, I would be super good at that in a crisis. However, if it's like a personal stress, I would be like in tears and a complete wreck, so I feel like it's 50-50. Eloun assumes you miss life without having a baby. And this is like 50-50 as well, because I definitely miss elements of our life beforehand. But obviously I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I would never go back. I'd never be like, I miss my life so much. But sometimes I do kind of miss that, the freedom of not having a baby. You can be a lot more spontaneous. And you can still be spontaneous with kids, but you definitely do have to like, we're very kind of strict with River's timings in terms of her routine, in terms of like what we make her do and stuff, you know what I mean? We don't take her to a lot of classes and do this, that and the other. We're not like super strict in that sense, and like watching her development and all that super, super closely. We're quite relaxed parents in terms of that. But in terms of her, like, she goes to bed at this time and she has a bath at this time, we're quite strict with that. So I feel like I do miss that, like, level of freedom to be able to just be like, oh, let's go out for dinner tonight. And you don't necessarily lose that straight away either, because when she was tiny, we still did that because she would just sleep in her buggy. Like, she's super, like, content. Little tiny babies are really easy in that sense. But as soon as they start, like, waking up and being more alert, like, you can't really do that. Well, I feel like we can't. Jess assumes that you've really got your shit together. I would kind of agree with this in terms of, like, life. Like, I'm very organised with life and planning, but in terms of day-to-day, I fly by the seat of my pants most of the time. I'm not one of those people who's, like, constantly, like, always put together and always looking like immaculate, but in terms of like the general like plan for, you know, bills and whatever, I'm always like organised, that's sorted. But yeah, day-to-day life, hell no. Alicia, this is such a weird and interesting assumption, assumes you and your brother haven't spent time together in years. This is crazy. I see my brother like, I think on average twice a week, if not more. I would say like I'm pretty close to my brother. Like, I live 25-ish minutes away from him. I see him multiple times a week. I spend a lot of time with his family as well, with his wife and his kids. And I would say, like, in terms of siblings, like, all three of us, there's three of us in our family, are really close. I speak to my sister more like on the phone because I feel like my brother's not the best on the phone. He's quite a quiet person. So like when he rings me, I'm like, what do you want, kind of thing, because he always rings like for a reason. But I see him loads and we hang out loads and we're like pretty close. So I find that weird. And I think that's probably an assumption because he's not in my vlogs very often, because it's just something that I don't know, like, he's very, like I said, he's kind of a shy person, and he's also got a very dry sense of humour. So he's quite quiet, but then will come out with hilarious like one-liners. And I feel like a lot of his personality would be lost in vlogs because he'd just be making like funny comments and people would be like, what? If you don't get like the context of it, if that makes sense. So he's not in my vlogs a lot. He has been in a few, but no, me and my brother are super close, and that's just funny. Especially like you haven't spent time together in years. I'm like, we have, definitely. Carly or Charlie assumes that you're very down to earth and probably enjoy home days more than London days lately. I like to think I'm down to earth, but I definitely enjoy London days. I feel like when I get to go to London now, it's more of a treat. Like before I was there like a couple of times a week before I had River, and I feel like it was definitely more of like a day-to-day like work situation. But now it's such a treat when I get to go to London. I love it. I love being at home obviously, but that's like my day-to-day. Like that's my normal kind of everyday now, and London days are like a treat. Oh my god. Rebecca assumes that my house is spotless. Hell no. It's always covered in stuff, baby stuff, new packages, piles of things for making videos, just general stuff everywhere. Dog hair, balls, dog toys, dead mice a lot of the time that the cats bring in. It's always, yeah, there's always something going on. Reen assumes you wake up with perfect hair always. This is not a true assumption. No. Lorna assumes in the last few years you slightly stepped away from the YouTube social scene. 100%, like, you can't hide that. Like, do you know what I mean? My vlogs, like, you can see, like, I don't hang out with YouTubers a lot anymore. I feel like this is 50-50 in terms of, like, conscious decision and also just a natural progression in terms of YouTube. Like, when we first started doing YouTube, everybody was it was so exciting and new, and everyone was making friends, and it was all just like a really sociable kind of situation, which then obviously became more serious and more well established, and people get busier and stop hanging out so much. That's all 100% true. But then equally, I think I realized, like, after a few years of doing YouTube, like, the real value of my kind of home friends, my old friends, and definitely like made a conscious decision to hang out more with them as opposed to YouTube friends. I still have a few people like I really genuinely like a lot and I would hang out with, especially if they were closer, because like Tati and Nikki Philippi, like both girls, like I genuinely wish they lived closer because I would see them loads and I really have a lot of time for them. But you know, a lot of the time it's just distance that stops that. And also, like, you know, I feel like a lot of people in the YouTube world, it's been a long time. People change. People do change. And I think the whole process of YouTube and what YouTube has kind of created for people, as good as it is and as amazing as the experience is, did change quite a few people. So that's all I'm going to say about that, because, you know, I don't want to get into a whole load of drama, but that's where it's at. Mandolin says, you think your home life is too boring to share, it's not, love the dog and home videos. Okay, so yes, this assumption is true. A lot of the time, I feel like my home life now is not too boring to share, but I feel like I can't just share the same thing over and over again. So I do home vlogs, but I don't do them that often because it is like most of the times the same thing. And because I don't share River very much, as I like made a conscious decision, like she's occasionally in vlogs a little bit, but I don't want to be like constantly filming her and kind of pushing the camera in her face. And I've spoken about this loads, like that's a decision that I made for her. And that's not really going to change. Like, I feel like if I did do that, it would make home vlogs like super, super interesting and probably pretty successful, but it's a decision that I chose to make for various different reasons. So I feel like everything else going on at home is just a lot of the same. So you do see home vlogs, you will see home vlogs, just not like every day. Love Stephanie assumes you have it easy job-wise, and I would say 100% yes. YouTube is the best job in the world. I've been doing YouTube full-time for 9 years, and I have to say, like, you work hard at it, like, especially in the early days. I feel like the first kind of 6 or 7 years of YouTube, I worked really, really hard to make the content, to put it out there, to be continually, like, staying, you know, current and being consistent. But it's not hard work, and this is the one thing I always say about YouTube. You work hard, but it's not hard work. Like, it's the most fun job. You're doing essentially what you did for fun as a job. So if you ever hear anyone complaining about being a YouTuber and like, oh, we work so hard and nobody realizes, yeah, we do, but it's super fun. And if you're wondering what that noise is, it's chucking it down with rain, and the skylight, which is above me, is going crazy. So yeah, that in terms of like, I have it easy job-wise, like, yeah, it's the best job ever. And also the last few years, I have set things up so that I do have it easy and that I can spend more time with River. So yeah, it's a lot easier than it used to be, that's for sure, in terms of the amount of time and effort I put in. Annie, I'm just going to say Annie, assumes you don't want any more kids anytime soon. That's not true. I 100% would like more kids, and maybe next year. So not like right now, but it's definitely like something that Mike and I would love to do, is have more kids. I think personally, like, we both think now that we were like 3 kids. Mike at one point thought he wanted 4 kids, but I think having 1, he's realised that maybe 4 might be hard work, and probably 3. Fleur assumes you were really good at school. 50-50 on this one. I was good, and I wish I had been naughtier because I wasn't like a goody two-shoes, but I was definitely like a bit scared of being naughty. I'm not saying I wish I was like completely like awful, but there were times when I was like, oh no, we shouldn't do that, and I should have just done that. But In terms of like schoolwork, like I said before, like I didn't work that hard throughout the term, but I did like work super hard for exams. I revised super hard and I always got like straight A's. In terms of exam results, I got straight A's all the way through school, but in terms of like my reports throughout school, no way. I would say I've got mostly B's, maybe C's, like all the way through in terms of effort, because I just took it pretty chill throughout the year and then worked really hard at the end. Melissa assumes that I eat super healthy. Okay, kind of 50-50 again. I do eat healthy, but I also love food and junk food, and not necessarily junk food, but like really tasty food. So yeah, 50-50. Love Stephanie again. I feel like I answered one of her questions. Said YouTubers get everything for free. We get a lot of stuff for free, which actually, in terms of like disclosure, now we have to disclose that, which makes it really easy for you guys to see when like what stuff we get for free. We do not get everything for free. I'm still very conscious of, if I really want something, I would rather go and buy it than kind of try and get it for free, like email the brand and say, can I just, that whole situation I find super cringy. But we are super lucky and we do get sent a lot of stuff, but we have to disclose that now so you guys know what we get sent and what we don't. That is the assumptions about me tag. I actually really enjoyed doing this. Thank you to everyone who sent in assumptions. There were thousands of them that I couldn't possibly answer, and I feel like this video is very long, so I'm going to go now, but I will see you all again very soon. Bye! I feel like I want to wave, but I have a remote in one hand and my phone in the other. Bye!